Actually, it's forbidden in the Quran. It forbids us to harm others, as the Quran says in Surah Ma'idah, verse 32, that whoever kills a human being is considered the deadliest of all mankind. Whoever saves a life of a single human being is regarded as having saved the life of all mankind. And now I just quickly want to, while I was doing some research for this, I actually came upon a article where someone who is HIV positive actually wrote into an Islamic website, and the name of the website is Turn to Islam, and I will just read it for you, and then you can see still no connection. Just give it a minute.
Yeah, but the issue is that you have to read it there. So, pressing image request. And pressing image request to protect and duplicate.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, the person wrote, Assalamu alaikum, I will seek information for you. Sorry, that's the second part. And this is from the website, Turn to Islam. So the person writes, Assalamu alaikum, hope everyone is keeping well. I find it strange that no Muslim or Islamic leaders talk about HIV and AIDS. And there is so much of stigma and discrimination attached with HIV/AIDS. I have been HIV positive when I was 22. I have not been able to meet any scholar that would stand up and take up on discussing with HIV/AIDS. Sorry about that. There are over 35 million people living with HIV, and it makes a person's life really miserable without the support of the community. Although my siblings know about my status, they are scared and would not let me be an advocate and speak about it in public. I have tried to find a partner, but as soon as they know that I am HIV positive, I am rejected. People with HIV are humans and need to be treated with respect and dignity. I would like to hear people's thoughts on this. He's asking now the people on the blog, I would like to hear people's thoughts on this, and I hope that this will not be looked over. And then the first response came, as you can see there. Assalamu alaikum, I will seek information for you. However, I must be honest with you that you say that you may seek a partner. I'm not sure what you mean. So obviously this person is after more information. And as we do not know what the circumstances were when you were first identified with HIV, you must be patient with us. This is a public forum. So they take it that as he posted it on a public forum, he should actually be open and let them know how he got HIV as well, which I think is very disrespectful. And the response goes on to say that the stigma is simple. Most other people that are HIV positive have led a certain lifestyle that is contrary to the teachings of Islam. Given that what kind of support you are seeking, what is it that you wish to educate others? In a sense, you need to let us know what you need and why. It would be better for everyone to communicate. I pray that I have not come across too hard. And actually, it did seem a bit hard. And the last comment is from another Muslim person, an Orthodox person, that said, I am shocked to know that you're surprised when you are seeking a partner, because he actually feels that if someone knows that you are HIV positive, in this person who wrote this response in his mind, if someone knows that you are HIV positive, obviously they will not want to go with you, because the guy is saying you're asking someone to get a disease or be in a serious risk of getting infected, and you don't want them to reject that. So for this person, it's actually normal to reject someone that comes to you and say, look, I'm HIV positive, can we continue with the relationship? or can we start a relationship or whatever. And I'm sorry, I think the above comment said it all very well. If you got HIV through blood donations, and in this person's mind this is not a halal, but it's a not haram way of getting HIV in this person's mind, meaning that your innocent lifestyle mentioned in the comments above, then the person should be patient and have faith in God, because God will reward him. But if it was not because of that innocent blood transfusion, then this person is actually condemning him. So yeah, this is typical comments that one would get in the Muslim community that's not progressive and that's not educated around the topics of sexual diversity, HIV and AIDS.
Can I just interject, please? When you say that's typical in the Muslim community,
that's not progressive.
That's not progressive. Can I just challenge that in the sense of, I used to work with a global union called Education International, and we represent we used to represent 30 million teachers. And a large percentage of them, we had a project called EF-AIDS, Education for AIDS, EF-AIDS. And a large number of our projects were based in Central and Sub-Saharan Africa in particular, with a large number of Muslim populations. And we used to, the aim of the project was to train the teachers in largely Muslim communities, so training the teachers who are then teaching their children in their classrooms, but also teachers who are teaching other teachers on how to protect yourself against infection, but also dealing with the stigma and living with the reality of HIV, and indeed when HIV evolved into AIDS. And that was not my experience of working with those Muslim people in those countries, in that part of Africa in particular, for example. That was not, and even those, we say progressive or unprogressive, or reactionary conservative views, the first thing I found that was actually more prevalent than being progressive or conservative was the absolute ignorance, the absolute lack of knowledge that people had about HIV, even the basics, the rudimentary basics of how one becomes infected or how one acquires HIV in the first place. That was astonishing for me to learn, but that was the first thing that I established. I didn't find particularly in that experience, in my experience working with those colleagues in Africa in particular, that they were necessarily reactionary. Of course there were some reactionary views, but I think it's important to recognize just how big the issue of ignorance is before we go into the issue of trying to paint sections of our community as progressive or regressive. And I'll give you another example, because there was an international AIDS conference in Austria, I think it was in Vienna, just a couple of years ago. And I noted with interest the first comment being, why are there no Muslim or Islamic scholars or leaders or other people within the community talking about HIV/AIDS? I think there is a serious challenge around the Muslim community, and I think that some of the responses illustrated that people's understanding about how people acquire HIV status or not is seriously lacking. There is a serious issue there about education. But I found that there was Islamic Relief, which is a UK-based charity organisation which does a lot of voluntary and human relief agent kind of work, like the UN institutions, but from an Islamic perspective in organising. They organised a conference with several thousand Islamic, medical practitioners, and let's not forget, in my country, in the UK, 40%, 40% of our medics, including those who are working in the HIV/AIDS and immunology field, are from a Muslim background. So we've got Muslim practitioners, seeking to find a remedy against HIV, and B, treating patients with HIV. they do not carry necessarily judgmental views or articulate ignorant judgmental views like that. So it's important to recognise that, you know, absolutely there is ignorance within our faith community, in sections of our faith community, but there is also immense goodness in our faith community that balances that. And I appreciate you maybe getting there, but I just want to start that with that on the outset, because I think it's important to give an overview that there are many people, there are many good examples of people within the Muslim faith community seeking to challenge infection, promote education, and then give, you know, compassionate treatment to their sisters and brothers in Islam. Before we go into the, I mean, there are people in the room who are not necessarily Muslim or who may be for the first time experiencing the issue of Islam and how we, you know, within the Muslim community understand or don't understand HIV and AIDS and other sexually transmitted infections. But I think it's important to give a balance that there is a range of perspectives, and there are some very, very many good examples also, including that one from the Vienna conference, which was an international conference, you know, with several thousand medical practitioners and human rights organizations and human rights activists and aid agencies, all from a faith perspective, Islamic faith perspective, and the position they had people with HIV speaking at the conference as out, visible HIV, you know, people, positive people, and they were saying that, you know, this is our experience and this is how you can support us. So, I'm just going to stop there, but I just...
No. I actually appreciate that a lot, because you actually brought that balance into what I said just now. Because at the end of the day, many people have different experiences. That is what you and many other people have experienced, and I have experienced it differently again.
I want to speak?
Yeah.
I want to speak. And what happens is the whole family suffers.
As it's not HIV. What else it is?
Yeah.
If I am someone I don't know HIV, and you told me HIV, how you describe it? It's a virus.
Yeah.
It's transmitted
Yeah.
by sex or blood or injection.
Yeah.
So we have to put the how it is.
Yeah.
There is solution or not.
Group 4 will deal with the... Group 4 will deal with the most riskiest kind of behavior and the less riskiest kinds of behavior.
Just with the most like riskiest, and that's it.
Yeah, so you obviously...
Only sexual behavior.
Oh, actually, anything that can...
Any behavior.
Yeah, any behavior like, you know, drugs, the needles. I'm not supposed to give you.
Can you get a Where's he's not that hard. I don't have really nice handwriting, do you? ¿Quieres una letra bonita?
No porque tengo todos los apuntes de la clase.
Oui.
Assalama.
English, I think it's better, and I will translate.
But I think there is some kind of practice.
Go to 100 or something like that.
Because there is no.
Oh, my balls. And then we can like just put things, but going down.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, not risky is kissing.
Simple.
We can start with the risky, or
Yes.
because kissing is very good to begin with.
Pon uno, dos,
Necessarily, not like chronic kidney disease, diabetes, or are feeling. So with the development
In
of
which one? In that or that?
in general, I mean, even for that there is appeal.
Yeah. But in that
for that there is a mixture of appeals. But at the end, it's
That
so
one is
they-
not chronic. It's only this one that's
that
chronic.
is a chronic. That is not chronic.
This is
I don't know about the blood transfusion, but I just think contact with contact with blood.
I was going to say, like, open wounds and cuts through inflammation. Open wounds and cuts.
Yeah, I think that actually is through needles.
But apart from that,
Needles is when you're sharing
Yeah.
like this specifically, but if you've got open wounds, for example, and you're or blood coming and you're in contact with someone and you've got a cut or wound and the blood mixes.
I don't know.
I guess we can interpret
I would interpret it as before.
to avoid this.
Yes.
But to avoid, but you know how to avoid it, you know?
I mean, I don't have any of it.
Yeah, maybe you say this to stay HIV free or something. To stay.
I interpret it as...
So if you have an infection, you can have traces of blood in your piece, and so you can transmit and.
So there could be like a tiny risk inside of this sexual practice. You mean that? It could be a tiny risk on that if you have another infection.
Yeah.
In your
Yes. But if you drink piss from somebody, it's difficult to know if he has an infection in his regenerative system. So
we forgot about
it's
that.
also a practice made in often in group parties, so it can be risky.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about blood transfusion because if it's checked, then in most of the countries it would not be risky. It depends on the health.
Yeah, it depends on the health. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what I
but
wanted
the
to
problem with the testing is that sometimes the infection, the virus, is just, you cannot detect it till 6 months later or something like that. So you have like this space of months. Yeah, 6 months.
3 months for the test ELISA.
Yeah,
and the Western blot and the ELISA for 4th generation is just 2 weeks.
So there is a tiny risk that they cannot get it.
Yes, but I think in most of our countries now in Europe, it never happens. And I think
It's very rare that it happens. Actually, actually, they are putting this ban in. Yeah. Yes.
It's up to the testimony of the
And they normally,
it's not a big risk.
it's a tiny risk, but
On that side, yeah. Because you had it on the left side.
I think about transfusion, it depends. It always depends, because it depends on the legislation of the country. Some countries are really getting it straight, so you are bound to donate blood in the following, 6 or 1 year, so that's not risk at all. It's going to be detected. Then in some others, they are not doing it right. So because it depends on the system, how to check it, you cannot say there is no risk at all.
That is what I said.
Yeah.
It depends. It can be under.
Yeah.
For the results, the regular testing, you can have the results in a day because it's just on the place which comes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add something here. I think what you were speaking about 6 months, and then you cannot, then the person having sex with you or whatever activity like that cannot have it. You are actually referring to the window period,
Yes.
which is like for 6 months, something like that after you got infected. So if you have to go for a test, they might not necessarily see that. So yeah, so it could be risky. I went for an HIV test this morning, and it showed negative, but I am not aware that I am in my window period.
Yeah.
And then I go have unprotected sex with someone else, and that person can get it from me. Yeah, yeah. That's. I just added that.
Alors, sur la question de l'éducation dans les écoles.
En France, il y a vraiment un problème. D'abord, l'éducation sexuelle à proprement parler est très limitée. Et quand il s'agit de parler d'homosexualité, là, on a une levée de bouclier pratiquement des associations de parents d'élèves catholiques. Il ne faut surtout pas parler d'homosexualité, parce que c'est pas bien. On pourrait polluer les enfants en leur parlant d'homosexualité. Ce qui est très grave quelque part, parce qu'on ne les prépare pas à leur future vie d'adolescent et d'adulte. En fait.
When they give information about HIV and AIDS and other sexual diseases, they try to talk about homosexuality, but in the schools where Christian's background is there, it's a little bit difficult to talk to the children about also homosexuality because they got a lot of problems with that.
Alors, un exemple assez frappant, d'ailleurs, qui va vous faire comprendre un peu la situation. Il y a 2-3 ans de ça, on a voulu passer dans les écoles un petit film. Le titre, c'était « Deux petits poissons qui s'aiment d'un amour tendre ».
Ils ont essayé de faire une campagne, ils ont utilisé un film.
En anglais, en anglais.
They use a video to educate the children, and it is about two fish. They fall in love, and then.
Et en fait, les associations de parents d'élèves catholiques ont fait en sorte que ce film soit interdit dans les écoles. Il n'est jamais passé.
Accepted of refuse at school.
This is for the Catholic schools. Oh,
yeah.
All the schools.
L'école publique, hein. On parle de l'école publique là.
Public school.
Public school. Hein. Alors, pour information, le gouvernement que nous avions à ce moment-là était le gouvernement de M. Sarkozy. Voilà.
I say during the mandat of the Sarkozy president, the last 4 years.
Droite très conservatrice.
The right policy, you know.
That puts a very interesting light to the theme of the first day on secularism, because when you talk about France as a secular state, and still ideology can have such a strong influence. So I was a bit concerned on the first day that even a non-secular and a secular system can be used for any kind of interests. It's not naming which is the most important, it's really who is in that part, who is what's the word in English? Who is the ones who actually use the power, behind the power? So
but I think French.
Who has the power now?
French secularism is a bit special.
It's very special. It's extremely
like
special.
in Fridays in school, you don't eat fish and you don't eat meat because they were Chris died in many schools. So it's actually secularism. Many times it's against Islam, and that's it. So you don't eat meat because
that's a Catholic practice. You don't eat, but it's just like in a period. It's not the whole
year. Come up with all the information and present it. So now I will go on to the Islamic part of the workshop. The Islam, AIDS and sexual diversity. Is it showing? Just sorry about
But don't you agree that the presence of the HIV infection in the Muslim world, I don't know what's in the world?
I didn't too, sorry. Can you repeat?
Like I'm talking about the Muslim world, especially Middle East. We have as the last research came out from Middle East, there's a lot of issues talking about HIV and AIDS in the Arabic media, in Muslim media. Yeah, films have been made, cinemas over
Yes.
especially Egyptian films the last days. And the research say that the Muslims community actually is the lowest percent HIV infected in the world. So I think the main problem, we don't have that much HIV even patients in the Muslim community to start talking about it as we do here in Europe. But I'm very optimistic because they have started like the past 2 years of following the news and research and films about the Arab community, and they talk about it in the television. Even in there was in Dubai television, it was in Egyptian television, it was films. I heard a lot of programs talking about HIV. They have shown like shown visible faces of HIV patients in Middle East. So I was very optimistic. It's not like black and white and just HIV, but people start at least talking, especially after the dictator regime shifts have gone in Middle East. So I think we as Arabs we start talking about this stuff. And I think first time I talked to my mom about it was like 3-4 months ago. Suddenly she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm watching some YouTube about HIV." And she said, "Oh, what's that?" She didn't know anything about what's that HIV. I said, "AIDS." I said, "Oh, a'udhu billah," And then she started like asking me why, how, and all this stuff, and be careful, you're in Europe, because the people is not educated, and the old generation of Muslims and our community are not educated enough to accept these issues. And when I just said AIDS, she said, "Oh, don't talk about it. You're in Europe. Be careful." So I think the new generation starts like more getting more liberated.
Please, because I'm sorry to say that, but because you are a man, and so it was okay with your mother to talk about this. But for us in Saudi Arabia, no one talk about this because it means that you are not pure, that you are not right, that
you have no right to drive a car.
Not in Islam. And they have this idea, if we teach you how to protect from AIDS, so you will do sex out of marriage. So it's the same way it's to teach you.
But can you get the condoms in the same way?
Can you get condoms in your
Je ne sais pas. Because just man who can go to the pharmacy and ask for not women, so no.
I understand.
And is there HIV?
Can I add something about Saudi Arabia? In the beginning of this year, we get someone who came to the Netherlands to ask for asylum because of that. He got infected in Saudi Arabia, and he gets to know it, and he must go to the hospital to ask for support and medical help. And when he went there, one of the nurses told him she has to report that, and she cannot help him. And the only way he must leave Saudi Arabia, otherwise he gets arrested and he gets in the jail. And then he took the first plane to the Netherlands, and he came there to ask for asylum. And he starts in the Netherlands to get the medication, and now he's well. And it's pity that people don't get help because they are sick.
Three things. There is an organization called Positive Muslims, isn't it?
Yes, it's a network. Yeah.
It's a network of positive Muslims, which I think is very
HIV-positive.
Yes.
Yeah,
so I think it's very important to know about. The second thing is in some countries in sub-Saharan Africa, with a mixed population of Christian and Muslims, the group where the numbers are going up are among married women in 35 to 49 years old. So that is a very risky situation, actually. Now, that is one of the groups that really are rising. And the third thing is that you mentioned the International AIDS Conference. This year in Washington, there was an interfaith pre-conference where there were also Muslims represented as an interfaith HIV conference. So speaking about HIV from a religious perspective in an interfaith context, which is very interesting and interesting to follow also, I think, to see what will happen within that milieu, whatever you call it.
But what I want to say also that the problem is not only in the Middle East, or in Saudi Arabia, of North Africa, is known in the Muslims world. Also in the Netherlands, we see that we work with the Moroccan and Turkish community, gay and hetero. And I have here some example. In the last years, we started a campaign to contact people and to tell them about that it is not a shame to talk about that. They don't talk about that. And because people in the, for example, Moroccan of speaking Arabic people don't speak Dutch, we have tried to make information in the Arabic language with cards and how you can get also what it means, HIV in Arabic language, and how you get it, and the difference between HIV and AIDS, and all this stuff, you know. And it was also a way to us to introduce ourselves in the mosques, and it was an easy way to go inside and to talk about that, and then we introduce also other sexual diversities.
Yes, I want to make a point. I think that also in Saudi Arabia, when you say you are homosexual, it's mean that you have AIDS. Because they think homosexual is to be wrong. So to be wrong is not to be straight and not to marry. So absolutely you have this disease.
I think it's, yeah, are you, oh sorry. I think it's clear from what have come out that like he said, there is a balance, and I'm thankful that he actually brought up this discussion. The thing is also that you've got your experience, I've got my experience, which is negative one. He's got a more positive experience. Another one has also got a different kind of experience. So yeah, I'm actually very happy for that. I will give over to Azzah now for the last part.
Are you happy that we have bad experience?
Oh yeah.
Bad experience?
No, a balance in the book.
Yeah, you have to say because.
Oh, sorry guys, I didn't mean that I'm glad that we have a balance. I meant that we've got a balance now in the workshop, that we are able to see that some people have a negative experience and some people have a positive experience. I will give over to Azzah now.
Okay, I was going to speak about Islam and the way that certain people in Islam organize help for people who are banned out of the community and with HIV. I first started when I was, in 1986, I was only 16 years old. I went to London for having fun, and on my way I think I arrived at some project and I needed to do something. We started in 1986 in London, the London Lighthouse, which was in hospice at Bedford Road. I was one of the organizers there, and I was very young, but I did it with a friend of mine, Dr. Sulu. And it was this real house where people died. And that was my first experience in working palliative in an Islamic way, meaning you work with young students. And as we believe in Islam, we have the seen and the unseen. And for some people, and especially when you have people with two double spirits, and it might sound strange, but it's mostly well known in the old ancient history of Arabic Islam. Those were the people with two spirits, or the Hufas. And they had special things, spiritual things to be in contact. They were consultatives, and that is also with the Buddhism, where you have shamans, that those were people. And I think that was why I came in here in London first, in 1986, and I just helped people dying. I was very young, I was only 16, so I didn't imagine what I saw how they were suffering. They needed space because they were they couldn't pay the rent, they were just put on the streets and they didn't have no bed to die. So we built on Bedford Road
by the black community with fundings from people in person, private fundings, and some fundings of the Nation of Black Islam, which might sound very strange, but they did give a lot of money and not fixed foundations. But the thing is that the children of people who died because of this disease were orphans, so they have nothing. And in America, if you have just nothing, you just have nothing. When you don't have parents, you don't have insurance, you're just an orphan on the street. So I couldn't live with that as an Islamic favoritism. So we started this organization to have, it's in downtown Brooklyn, in the area where the African American people and of faith religion are living. In Harlem, we had after a while opened an orphanage where the children just could live and could get loved by people who worked there voluntarily from our community. And we still did it until last year, until the Malcolm X Foundation just had no money anymore left. So now it's a project by the French and the American governments, Franco-Américain Albright Commission, and I'm part of that. The Réseau Opérationnel, and it's still in the US, but no longer in New York, because I thought having those children in that negative environment, which is Harlem, they're so stigmatized, and they don't even need to have HIV because their parents died, they're stigmatized, and they can just not go to school, they have to live somewhere else. So we opened in Kingston a new house, it's called House of Love, and the children are living there for 2 months now. It's very difficult for them to start and have a life, because if you're 3, 4, you have no parents, and in the States there's nothing, nobody helps you, you just basically say so the only thing what you can do as a believing person, spiritual person, you feel that energy of people who are passed away, for the parents, for example, or you feel that there is energy from angels, it motivates you and it gives you the right, let's say the right track path, and then you start the right project. So like you can teach me that here. I mean, I never mentioned that at the age of 22 I would, together with a friend, organize a gay men of Afghanistan, also for transgender people, because the transgender people who used to get AIDS are just very modernized. But in fact, in the post-operative part, when people are not operating, but they look like a girl, for example, many of them are in prostitution and have no financial economic background or anything. So they just walk on the streets in Pacific Street and they walk on the piers, have unprotected sex and get some dollars for it, and all they are diagnosed with HIV. So what I saw when I was studying in New York was that people were literally dying on the streets. I couldn't live with that. So we opened up on the corner of Pacific Street a little hospice, same kind of as we did in London, where we just had beds and we had some nurses and some people who were in the medical field to help people dying. And they were not always Islamic, but most of them were, because I think Christians and Jewish people were all had the same idea about, okay, the government is not helping those people at this moment because they don't have no insurance, go to the hospitals in organize when you were just refused, and those people dying. There was no status of HIV or AIDS. And if you don't have a bed to die, and if you don't have a person who holds your hand, it's just, you know. So I felt at that age, being a gay man, I felt the need within my community to organize this together with Islamic boys. And we just did it, and it was good days, safe days. Sometimes it was just too much, because the peak of HIV was in 1980, in the 80s, you know. People were just dying like rats. There was no medication, only the one treatment, AZT, and that was it. And that was very bad, because everybody there was no real treatment. Now it's a different thing. Okay, so all those things that we first had to organize in London and the States are closed, because HIV is no longer, AIDS is no longer a problem, it's HIV which is a problem. But still, if your parents are dying of AIDS, there is a problem for children. So that's why we still have, with money from people who live in Europe, this alt-right community from France and America, and I'm very thankful that Mr. Obama is still in the administration, because he financed, at least he supports it very much. So then I want to work for myself a little bit, because that was also in the program. Go to my Facebook. Because being all around those people, I was, I think, 20, yeah. And when you are living the gay life, you just have a lot of, this is what I did. This is not the best, nicest picture. Okay, this is it. Shit, what happens? I don't need this. It's going to be photo.
I think you got some nice friends.
Now, okay. This is Taylor, and together with Taylor, I actually did this whole program. Taylor died 1 year ago on HIV or AIDS. Unfortunately, and he was a writer of gay erotic movies.
Yeah, so I'm going to be breaking it up into groups again. You will have 10 minutes to put some information together, and at the end you will come back and one of the persons in the group will present the information. So I'm going to divide you into groups. All the ones go together, all the twos go together, all the threes go together, and all the fours go together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
Okay.
So who's all the ones?
One here.
Here.
All the ones stand together, all the twos, all the threes.
2,
4. 4. Hello. 4.
Please come here. And 2. 2 here. 2.
Okay. Okay, so group 1 will discuss amongst themselves what HIV is, and they will come up with a definition of what it is, and also a definition of what AIDS is, and definition. So group 1 is HIV and AIDS.
When you say definition,
No, like in your own words, you would have to come up as a group with what HIV means. There's no wrong or right answer. I just want to get the different opinions. Group 2.
No, because we need to scratch it on the.
We need to take that one.
We take one there.
Necessarily, not like chronic kidney disease,
Diabetes.
or failure, heart failure. So with the development
In which one? In that or that?
in general, I mean, even for that there is a pill.
Yeah. But in that
for that there is a mixture of pills. But at the end, it's
That
the
one is
death-
not chronic. It's only this one that's
Yeah,
chronic.
that is a chronic. That is not chronic.
This is. Sorry.
feminine, a woman,
Yeah.
and also as a Muslim, cultural Muslim. What happens is in the Muslim countries, the men will sleep around, and the woman, the wife, will still sleep with the husband because the wife's responsibility is to satisfy the husband. And what happens is the whole family suffers.
But as it's not HIV. What is the case?
Yeah.
If I am someone I don't know HIV, and you told me HIV, how you describe it? It's a virus. It's transmitted by sex or blood or injection. So we have to put the how it is. That is solution or not.
We got to start.
Where's
I don't know. He's not that hungry. I don't have really nice handwriting, do you? ¿Quieres una letra bonita?
No apunto todos los apuntes de la clase.
Assalama.
English, I think is better, and I will translate.
But I think there is some kind of practice.
Go to 100 or something like that.
Because there is no.
Oh, my tools. And then we can like just put things, but going down.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, not risky is kissing.
Simple.
We can start with the risky.
Yes.
Because kissing is very good to begin with.
You have to have CALEM.
I don't know about the blood transfusion, but I just think contact with contact with blood.
I was going to say like open wounds and cuts through lash. Open wounds and cuts.
Yeah, I think contact is through needles.
Apart from that,
Needles is when you're sharing a thing like this specifically, but if you've got open wounds, for example, and you're or blood coming and you're in contact with someone and you've got a cut or wound and the blood mixes.
I don't know.
I would interpret it as before.
To avoid that.
Yes.
But to avoid, but you know how to avoid it, you know?
I mean, I don't have any of
Yeah, maybe you say this to stay HIV free or something. To stay.
I interpret it as
Up with information and also the definition of what HIV is and the definition of what AIDS is. So, over to you.
Okay. We put HIV as the sign of HIV, and we put AIDS as the proper medical look of AIDS, just to differ between HIV and AIDS. But before starting off that, we decided to talk about, before getting the HIV and AIDS, the problem is education and sexual education. So in Europe we have sexual education kind of, but in Africa, in the Middle East, it's a taboo. We don't talk about sex or sexual education. Then we have the religion, which we don't want to talk about it as well, because not using condoms, they don't accept anything outside marriage. And we know that you can catch it as well during a normal marriage. So that's the first thing we talked about. And then we talked about HIV. For us, HIV, it's a hope that if I am HIV, I have a hope of 10, 20 years. I have a hope that I take the medication, I will be okay. I can go to work, I can have a normal life, I can have a partner. It's not the end. So we put hope for HIV. We put risk, mean that it's a personal risk as well to give it for someone else. So here I have to be aware that if I got HIV, it's not the mistake of the others, it's my mistake because I have to protect myself and I don't want to give it for someone else. So my misery or my situation, it should be my personal kind of risk and I have to protect the others. It's a virus, of course, so it's like catching any other virus. So we have medication for it, and these days they're getting from different kind of pills, giving more hope, and I think it's not as well like cancer, where people they get straight away for a straight kind of way of suffering. You don't feel anything. You have some stigma, and the transmission, which everybody know the way it will be, by needles or by unsafe sex. Most of the cases is unsafe sex. When we go to AIDS, we found that most of the people coming, the problem to get to AIDS is you can be HIV as much as possible with the medication. To go to AIDS is the second part of the virus, and here we have the problem when people, some people, they lost the resistance of the HIV to go to AIDS, but it comes as well from poverty. So we see in Africa, people from HIV to AIDS, it's a quicker kind of way, when in Europe they have a lot of time and they have lots of care, and we will see here, again, we go to help. Help is not only help like this help in here, which is coming from the government, from the medication. Help here is from the family, the people next to you. You are in a situation when you lost hope in life. That's it. I am HIV. Maybe I will live a year, 10, but I am in a down kind of situation. And the help I needed, it's help of maybe religion, because I would be more religious. I'm thinking about what's next. And as well, the help of the family, friends, who will be next to me when I'm really, really in need. We have the stigma. We have as well, in the AIDS, the look. Do I look HIV? Do I look like I'm dying? Do I look like I'm AIDS in that kind of sickness? And that's it. That's most of it.
Anyone wants to add something to that? Okay, so then we'll go on to the next group. Any group can come up that's ready. It doesn't have to be group 2 or 3.
Oh, we are ready. We're going to start with the Gangnam Style show.
Yes, please.
As long as it's safe.
Tu veux une chaise?
Parle-moi.
Ouais.
Je trouve que je veux pas de chaise. Je veux pas non plus.
Okay, in our list, well, we realized
ours, what the group 4 did was quite similar to the theme that we had in our group. Ours includes not only things that for sure will cause infection, but also things that might cause. So there's going to be a little bit of overlap. For the things that does not cause infection, we have kissing,
Hugging,
and sharing a bed,
loving,
touching,
talking,
having safe, protected sex,
flirting,
talking,
having a drink,
yeah, buying a beer,
getting oral sex, or
at least protected oral sex, and holding hands, and sharing clothes, sharing a wardrobe. For things that do and might carry the risk of infecting is unsafe, unprotected oral and vaginal sex.
sharing needles, reusing needles, syringes.
The contact between body fluids like blood and semen. Semen.
Giving oral sex. Giving oral sex. Receiving.
And when you share your sex toys.
Buccal, anal, vaginal, plus buccal. Oral.
Oral sex.
Okay.
Okay, c'est compris.
How about oral sex?
Ouais,
What do I do I mean, which one do you think?
First one.
Yeah, what is oral sex? I mean, do you think it should go?
He was just talking about the first point, and talking we use the word unsafe sex. It can be oral or anal sex.
Yeah, sure. I mean, here we wanted to, well, basically it's both, protected, safe, oral, vaginal, anal sex, depending on how.
Si plaie buccale, là c'est possible, effectivement.
And you talk about
El líquido preseminal no contiene HIV.
Only if you have an infection in your household.
No.
It's very, very rare.
No.
But here is not, as she told it in the beginning, the question is not to have a high of a less infection, but
you might.
Yeah, you might.
This list includes the possibilities. It's not a certain act. We have sharing sex toys without having them, clean or protected, making sure that you don't use the same, sex toys without doing something about it.
And we had a blood transfusion. I guess there's just the possibilities of contact blood again with if someone's got open wounds or cut.
That's our list.
Any group that's ready can come up.
Hiya, Sandy, hiya.
I will. Any group that is ready? Number 3.
Okay, for our group, we discussed about the risk of different ways of getting HIV testing and also ways of staying healthy if you are infected. We noted that there are two different kinds of testing that you could have, which is one is the speed testing, where you can get the results in more or less in an hour, so that if you really want to get the result quite quickly. And there's also a regular testing, which is within 1 or 2 weeks. So even if you get a result after the speed testing, it's also encouraged that you do the second testing just to be sure. So who should get tested? We believe that everybody who are sexually active, even though they are practicing even safe sex, you should also need to get tested for peace of mind, that knowing that you do not pass this to other people also. Some people also work in certain professions that require them to have a testing. For example, people who are working in the medical profession, or some people may also need to get tested for immigration reasons. Going back to the first point, let's say even if you're tested negative, it's recommended that you take another test in the next 3 months, after 3 months, just to double confirm that it is in fact negative, because it might take up to 3 months for the virus actually to materialize in the test. How frequent should you get tested? It very much depends on your risk profile. Well, basically what has been presented by Group 2 just now, if you're actually related, if you're really engaged in those risky behaviors, and depending on how many partners you have. But you should at least, well, we think anyway, that we should get tested at least once a year. If you're in fact infected, so this is what the ways that we believe that we could keep healthy for many years to come. Always have protection when you're having sex, so that it's not passed to other people. Have a good nutrition, and get medical help as soon as possible. Take the medication religiously as directed. This is to us it's equally as important as the medication part, to have a good network of support and friends. We should also link to stress management and positive thinking, because this will also lead to we think that the level of antibody that is present to your body, because how positive you are also depends on how your body is able to manage the level of the viral load in your body, because these three are very much related. You should always keep updated with the latest information through, let's say, AIDS organization, LGBT organization, health department, and also based on different kind of helps available out there, latest information on medical advancement and all that. And that's it from Group 3.
Group 4.
Okay, first I am gonna tell what were our decisions. We did like on a scale from what is risky or not risky, or how to contract HIV. And then Sam is gonna explain his triangle of after. Okay. Cool. So in this scale from plus till minus, we have like different levels of how risky or not risky is. So in the riskiest place, we have unprotected anal sex, sharing needles, and blood transfusion. With a little bit less of risk, we have breastfeeding and unprotected sex, including penetration. Then we have like somewhere in the middle, like touching infected blood with open wounds in the both persons, and unprotected oral sex. And not risky at all is kissing, mosquito biting, touching, hugging, sharing utensils, even though I'm not sure this is an English word, but whatever. So the things for eating and drinking, and love. And then Sam, your triangle is the here.
En España, en las escuelas de primaria, enseñamos lo siguiente a chicos a partir de 10 años.
In the primary schools in Spain, we are teaching the kids from 6 years old as follows.
O sea que si los chicos de 10 años lo pueden entender, nosotros también.
So if kids of that age can understand it, we as well.
Tiene que haber 3 factores para la transmisión del HIV.
We need 3 factors for the transmission of HIV.
El triángulo.
The triangle.
El virus,
The virus,
el transmisor,
the transmitter, which is blood, semen, vaginal fluid, or mother milk or breastfeeding. Yes.
okay. Y una puerta de entrada y una puerta de salida.
And an exit and an entrance door.
Si faltan cualquiera de estos 3 factores, jamás se puede producir la transmisión.
If any of these 3 factors is lacking, then have never yet transmitted.
Easy.
And that's it.
Anyone wants to say anything, ask any questions, or add anything?
I wanted to add something in the non-risky thing.
Yep.
There's the kissing, which is maybe not mainstream sexual practice. I don't know if you bought me on it. But it's there and it's non-risky.
It's not risky at all.
Not risky at all. So, like,